Hey, DJ.
What's going on, Wes?
Hey, man, did you know that Texas ranks among the top states in the number of meaderies with a rapidly growing craft mead scene?
I did not know that.
You know why?
Tell me why.
The state's rich beekeeping heritage and large agricultural base support all this growth.
You know what they say.
What?
Everything's bigger in Texas.
That's right. Hello, friends, and welcome to the Live, Love, Wylie podcast, hosted by Wes Dorsey and DJ Shirley. Connecting people in the city we live and love. All right, DJ, we got another great episode today. We've got Carlos and Kayla Herrera with, they own the Texas Longhouse Meadery here in Wylie, Texas. Welcome to the pod. Are there mics down? You got them fixed? All right, we're all good. Oh, welcome to the show.
Hey.
Hey, awesome. Yeah, great. So, hey, before we get into talking about the meadery, let's learn a little bit about you guys and where you grew up and how you got here to Wylie and the meadery.
Yeah. We are from Plano, essentially.
Okay.
I grew up in Plano. He came from El Paso when he was a little bit younger.
Yeah, I was born in El Paso, 13, 14 years old, moved to Dallas, and then finally ended up in Plano, East Plano, Plano East. And that's where we actually met.
You met in high school?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
High school sweethearts? Did y'all date in high school
Yeah,
or afterwards?
Yeah, no, we dated in high school. And then I was like, hey, I'm going to join the Army. And then I was like, let's get married. And she's like, you're crazy. And so we broke up, and off I went and joined the Army for 8 years.
Joined the Army for 8 years? Where were you stationed?
I was stationed in Fort Bragg, North Carolina, with the 82nd Airborne. And then my last year and a half in service, I was down at Fort Hood with 27 Cav.
Okay. And then after the 8 years, you came back and you guys reunited? How'd that story go?
We actually reunited in college because she was part of the Veterans Association for the college, and because she's military as well.
Okay.
And so I needed help getting registered for college and getting my VA assistance, and lo and behold, I ran back into her. I'm like, hey, I need your help.
There you go. That's awesome. Yeah. So let's talk about, from what I've read and heard, you learned about mead in the military. And how did all that come about?
Well, I actually learned how to make mead from a friend while I was working overseas. I wasn't in the military at that point. I got out in 2011.
Okay.
And then I ended up going back overseas 2016. Mm-hmm. And then when I was there, one of my buddies, he was leaving, and he said, hey, you want to learn how to make mead? And I was like, what's that?
What are you talking about?
Like I knew what it was because I've always had interest in like the Viking age, medieval times and stuff like that. And so I knew what mead was, but never really had it because at the time it's and even still now it's not something that is very, very common to a lot of people.
You know, I really only heard about it in stories, right? You know, the old king, all the old castle stories, they have their glass of mead or whatever. Yeah. I never really thought about it as much to know exactly what goes into making it. I knew it was some alcoholic beverage or whatever, but I never understood what exactly it was, how it was made or what it was, right?
Yeah. But yeah, so I learned how to make it overseas, and then transferred out to another area and ended up getting hurt, sent home, and being gone 15 to 25 weeks at a time, home for 5, and then all of a sudden I'm home every day.
Yeah.
This one over here, she's like, get out of my hair.
You got to find something to do, Carlos, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you're back, you learn how to make it. Then, what was the big idea of starting up the meadery?
Well, the big thing was, one, I was home on a federal workman's comp for 5 years. So I literally couldn't do anything.
Right.
During that whole time, she was still in service, and so finally she got to the point. just under 17 years or right over 17 years. I don't remember. You remember how long you were?
16, I think, about 16 years.
But yeah, she got medically retired out of the military, and then it was right after that they finally came back like, yeah, you're done, you can't go back.
Yeah.
They're like, all right, well,
Got to find something to do.
both quote unquote retired,
Yeah.
and they're like, all right, well, what do we do? Let's open a
So
meadery.
so when you both came back retired, you were back in Plano, or how'd you end up here in Wylie?
We live in Rockwall now.
Okay.
We decided we wanted to start the business. We had, started looking for places, and we're getting kind of beat down in the real estate market. The commercial real estate
It's tough.
It's tough, and we looked in Rockwall. We looked all over Rockwall. That's where we live. I felt like I knew the market there. I knew where to be and kind of the community, and we were plugged into the community there. But we just were not finding anything, and we got to the point we were starting to look into, okay, maybe we just need to purchase and build and go that route. And then we were having our kitchen remodeled in our home, and our contractor there, he was like, hey, I got to run out and go close on this commercial property. And we're like, hold up, let's talk.
Yeah.
So he bought this property here in Wylie.
Okay.
And told us about his plans. It had a building on it, and said he was going to throw up some more buildings and rent them. And I think we pretty much had a handshake contract that day.
Awesome. Well, that just kind of fell in your lap, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Most good things do, right? So you're back. You're looking for things to do. Where did the inspiration come from to say, okay, we really want to go out and do this now?
Well, going back a little bit, because like once I got home and was full swing making mead, I learned that there was actual mead competitions for homebrewers.
Okay, yeah.
And then she actually found the homebrew club in Rockwall that I joined, the Rockwall Homebrewers Association. And I was like, all right, cool. So I started taking my mead to meetings, and then found out that there's competitions, sent it to competitions. So far, I guess I've won 21 amateur awards, and we just won our first commercial award, not last month, the month before. And so, I was like, man, I really got heavily into meat. I'm very competitive by nature as well.
Yeah.
Being in the military and then, working EMS and everything like that. So I was like, all right, I gotta, competitive. And so started, winning a bunch of meads, and then I was like, all right, how can I take my mead making further? So I became a certified mead judge and started judging competitions, and being able to dive deep into different flavors and how to actually develop flavor profiles and bodies of mead and so on and so forth. And so every time I went to competition, I'd always take mead with me. Everyone shares their mead,
Right.
or even other meads. I took some of my friends. She's a really good mead maker. She would send me bottles, and I'd take it to bottle shares and stuff. And then, but everybody who had my mead are like, hey, this is really good. You should go commercial. I was like, no, I'm good. And then it just kept coming up. My friends were, hey, you should do this. And we can do this business and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, maybe. And then finally I was like, if I'm not going back, doing security work, or not going back to EMS, or, can't go back into the military, what else am I going to do? And I was like, well, I'm really good at mead making, so maybe I can do this. So I started looking into what it takes to run a meadery for the most part, going commercial and upscaling everything. And so then I started making mead that kind of followed the parameters I needed to do it legally.
Right.
And effectively, per se. And then just started going from there, and the idea just kept growing and growing and growing. I was like, I'm going to do it.
Snowballing. Yeah.
I was like, if we can do it, I want to do it. And then she retired, I retired. Like, let's do it.
Let's do it. That's a great story. So, I've heard, people home brewing, beer and wine and stuff like that. Why a mead though? We kind of touched on it a little bit, but let's talk about that story about how you got the passion for mead.
Well, I'm like I said, I'm really big into the Nordic culture, the Nordic religion, how that all played out, and how that contributes to history. And The medieval times is also like one of my favorite periods.
Yeah.
And so, just mead was a popular thing. And one, it was growing, especially as a home brewer. Oh, hey, making mead is easy. It's cheap. You just a little glass carboy, honey, water, and yeast, and ta-da. Simple at the very base. That's all it is honey, water, and yeast, and you got mead.
Yeah.
With beer, all right, you got to boil it. You got to do this. I don't make beer, so
Right.
I can't speak exactly how they do it. But I get going to the homebrew club meetings and watching them. It's an all day event.
It is. Yeah.
I can make my mead. Well, now it's an all day event making big batches of mead. But at a homebrew scale, I can be done in 30 minutes and
You just
come
wait
back-
on it. Yeah.
come back 2 weeks later and got an alcoholic drink. And I was like, all right, cool. Simple, easy, something to give me to do.
So you mentioned that you became a certified judge.
Yes, sir.
So what's the process of becoming certified to judge mead?
There is a program called BJCP, the Beer Judging Certification Program. They do beer certification to be able to judge beers. They also manage and control the mead-making certification. You can also become a certified cider judge.
Okay.
And then it's not as difficult as a sommelier, but like, especially as a mead maker, right, you got to know the different types of honeys. You got to know all the different types of faults that can happen in the mead, how to correct them, or be able to identify why that happened, to be able to give feedback to the entrant. You got to know different flavor profiles, fruits, spices, so on and so forth. You got to be able to identify fusel alcohols and so on.
So do you have to learn anything additional to become certified, or is this something that you already knew from making it?
Pretty much it's what I learned from making it. There are some things like, all right, there's a whole guide on the BJCP website as to, all right, this is how you make mead. These are the styles. These are the guidelines. And you can basically study that,
Yeah.
get all the information. But making the mead is very helpful in becoming a certified judge, because then you can identify, all right, well, this mead is too thin. This one's too viscous. That's cloyingly sweet. That's way too dry. And, be able to identify different parts of the mead.
Give them the feedback they need. Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know just mead. Just like wines, there's different styles. So like in a wine, or people, you can say this is a Chardonnay or a Merlot, and that's very familiar knowledge. But in mead, if I tell you this is a hydromel or a piment or a bochet, nobody knows what that
No
means.
clue.
Exactly. So it has the same levels of wine in that sense, that there are different styles that are defined, and so they have to know that. He had to take a written test, and then he flew to Montana,
No,
Michigan, one of those places,
Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Minneapolis,
and had to do a tasting exam.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. And so, like, mead's becoming more popular now that the tasting exams are picking up more and more. But when I was testing for mine, like, maybe we had 2, 3, 4 in the U.S. There's some in Brazil, Spain. So, like, it encompasses a lot of countries and a lot of regions. But trying to find a mead certification exam or tasting exam is the hardest part. But now because it's becoming popular, it's
More
they're
prevalent.
growing.
Yeah.
So,
More accessible.
but yeah, so I had a flight to Minneapolis, and there's a mead competition up there called Valkyrie's Horn, and the day before the what's it called, the competition, they had their tasting exam. So they had a lot of judges there already to proctor, new judges going in to take the test, and then they also used them to help fill in spots for if they needed an extra judge or whatever. You're already proven that because you have to take the written exam first, and it's like 200 questions, and you have like an hour to do it,
Yeah.
or 90 minutes to do it, something like that. And then the other one, like the tasting exam, is also timed. You have 15 minutes. You have to judge 6 of them. You have to find all the faults, all the positives, and write your feedback. And you have to match within so many points of what the judge does, the certified judges do. So it's there's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So these big events, do they dress up like Norse and all that stuff, like the Renaissance Fair?
No.
No, they don't.
No.
Oh, they should. That'd be cool. I would dress up like a Viking and go do that for sure. So tell me about the Longhouse theme and what that symbolizes for you.
Well, like I said, in the Nordic culture, community was a big thing, and the longhouses where the community would gather in for feasts, for debates, for everything.
Yeah.
Mourning, celebrations, funeral, like everything. And so that was kind of the direction I wanted to go with it. One, it sticked with the Nordic Viking theme, and then but also incorporated what we believed in, family and community, and being there for each other, and it's kind of the same principles as the military. So
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, I brought that up because I mean, a lot of people who are gonna be listening to this just have probably never heard of mead before. If they have, they don't know anything about where it came from or all the Norse stuff, and so that's great information for our listeners. So the primary ingredient's honey, right?
yes, sir.
So, where do you source your honey? Is it local, or is there specialty honey that you import? I mean, how does that work?
Well, the company that we buy most of our honey from is local to DFW,
Okay.
but all of their honey comes in from Mexico.
Okay.
And so ended up going with them. One, the price point is very reasonable. Not that we try to support local as much as we can, because that's what we're big on, is we support the community.
Right.
But at the same time, local honey is also not cheap. And people don't realize how expensive honey actually is. And that's the other thing too, is like when people come in, they're like, your mead's how much? Well, you also got to remember the price of honey.
Yeah, honey's very expensive. Yeah, and also I guess doing it in in large batches or batches like that. I don't know if there's, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, that there's some inconsistencies maybe with local honey or small batch honey, right?
Yeah. The difference, like honey's going to change depending on the season when it's harvested and the region it's harvested. So like honey, from the area at the beginning of the spring is going to be one flavor, one color. Then at the end of the year, it's going to be typically much darker, and the flavor is going to alter just slightly. But at the same time, weather also plays into it. So if we start having droughts, whatever, the honey's kind of going to change in flavor as well. So I picked a honey that I've used multiple times, that I've developed a lot of my recipes around, and the honey profile is consistent.
Yeah.
From coming from those regions, because the temperature is consistent, the
Right.
weather's consistent, and so that plays a huge factor, especially in making batches repeat in flavor, because fruit's going to change, especially because we use a lot of whole fruits and whatnot, and so if it's a really off season and the fruit's going to be really bitter or dry or not as sweet versus last year. So, that's going to change. So if we can have something that's going to be consistent in flavor no matter what time of the year we get it, that's what we use as our base. That's then I can build and adjust after that.
That makes sense.
And a lot of people don't realize too that honey varies wildly. So there's the flavors of honey is drastically different based on the pollen source from the bees. So what the bees are feeding on, and just the profiles that we use come from tropical regions or jungle based, and it's wildly different than something that you would get locally. And that's what makes us kind of signature, makes a unique character to most of our meads, and something we offer in our tasting room. If you come in and ask for honey samples, I'll bring out all the usually 8 or 9 different honeys, and I can explain the differences in color and taste and region, and it's an interesting.
That's really cool. Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to have to show up over there, do a little taste test. So what are some of the most unique or unexpected mead flavors that you've created?
Oh man, that's
Commercially or
commercially or
I mean,
home?
just, either one.
I wouldn't say
Some of your favorites.
Oh man, that's which one's your favorite child?
That's easy.
The baby. Anyway, No, we it kind of depends on the season, obviously. You know, it's just the same thing with beers. You know, well, some people like myself call me crazy. I like to drink porters and stouts in the summer, but a lot of people don't.
I do
And
too.
so,
Yeah.
so like during the summer, we make a caramelized honey maple syrup, and then we split it two ways. One of it goes into a whiskey barrel, and then another one we add vanilla beans and toasted cacao nibs. So it creates a chocolate profile. So it's
Oh.
chocolate, maple, caramelized honey, vanilla, and then like this past winter, we put some in the crock pot, put a bottle in the crock pot, and it was fantastic.
Wow.
And
That
then-
sounds really good.
And then like right now we have a Moscow Mule, a Pina Colada, and a Mojito flavored meads. So like we don't use any. Obviously, we can't use liquor. Legally, we're classified as wine.
Okay.
So we have a winery license.
So let's talk about that. So what classifies it as a winery or a
'Cause-
wine license?
because our fermentation process is the same as wine.
Okay.
Wine. Sorry. And so, same thing as cider. Ciders are legally classified as wineries as well because the fermentation process is the same.
Okay, so it's the fermentation process is how it
So
classifies.
we're legally identified as honey wine.
Okay. Hey, honey wine. So those are some. You were talking about those different flavors, and I mean, now I'm like, I may be a big mead fan and didn't know it.
Yeah.
Wes just needs a timeout to really reflect on
Yeah.
the flavor profiles.
I mean, can we cut this short? Let's go over and have a sip.
And we try to keep a very approachable menu and flavors because we know that not everybody has experienced mead before or gotten the chance to try it. The automatic assumption is that mead is sweet because of the honey,
Yeah.
and it doesn't have to be. We have a dry mead on our menu, and we're working on more dry meads. But that's kind of, we chose this summer, our first summer open to kind of do these flavors that we felt were approachable, like a pina colada is
Yeah.
familiar, and same thing with a Moscow Mule.
I would never thought you could develop that out of a honey based drink.
Well, we're also like right now we're also working. So this will be out in the fall. We're working on an old fashioned flavored mead.
Oh, okay.
So basically, our whole thing is we're trying to create flavors that you can come in, and I can have something that you can drink. So you like red wine? We have a red wine style mead on.
Yeah.
So it's a Chilean Malbec with avocado blossom honey, aged on American and Hungarian oak. That one's won several awards. Everybody loves it. Or if you love red wine, dry red wines, you'll like that one.
Yeah.
If you got, I like, Moscow Mules. Well, we got that one. Oh, I like something fruity. Well, we got a peach or we got a mango. Oh, I'm looking for something more like whiskey. All right, well, during the fall when we do the caramelized honey, maple syrup, and barrel age it, fantastic. Now we're doing our old fashioned. And then we have it's not a beer style, but it's something that beer drinkers can relate to. So it's lemon with lemon drop hops. So you still get some of that hop character. If you like light, refreshing with a little bit of hoppiness, right there. So that's our goal, is to make something that everybody can come in and have something to drink.
That's great. So I think I got ahead of myself a little bit because I got excited about the mead. so we talked about you guys found the commercial space from your contractor, right? So where is that located?
Oh yeah. So we're over by Wylie East High School, kind of. So we're off of 2311 East Stone Road.
Okay.
So basically, for people that maybe don't live in Wylie or listening, basically you take 544, cross over 78, and just keep going.
Go straight.
Yeah.
Go straight until it turns into a bumpier road, right?
Yeah, and we're like behind a house, so you kind of have to turn down a little side road into a little gravel road, and it'll open up behind to this property where there's several
Okay.
buildings back there.
Is there a big sign up? Where,
Yeah, we have
Okay.
we have a sign on the road that says Meat and Market because we're on the same property where the Wylie Urban Farmers Market
Okay.
is.
Yeah. Oh, great.
So
So how long have you been open?
8 months.
8 months.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's awesome. So far, how has the Wylie community responded to something as niche as a meadery?
Wylie's been amazing. Our first kind of wave of customers that started coming in were really just the people that lived right around where we are, they saw our coming soon signs up on the road. They're driving by them every day. They
Yeah.
were getting excited about it. And then they started coming in, and then coming in, coming back, coming in again,
telling friends.
and then telling friends, and then showing up with people, and then having their birthday parties, and then bringing their family from out of town, and then, you know, really supporting us online, liking our social medias and sharing our post. And it's all been just that initial wave from Wylie, because we haven't done any advertising
Right.
or anything.
It's all word of mouth
All
so
word
far.
of mouth. Yeah.
That's good. We love a good unique spot here in Wylie. That's for sure. So, what has been one of your proudest moments since opening the meadery?
I know for him it's going to be awards. It's going to be getting into competition and, you know, actually
It's all about the hardware, right?
feedback, because commercial competition is going to be a lot different and a lot more competitive than the homebrew side. And so getting an award in the first competition he entered and getting that feedback on that, I could care less. I love, yeah, you know, I'm at the bar, so people drink it, they like it, they buy it again.
Yeah, it makes you happy,
know,
yeah.
But he likes the professional feedback, and you know, obviously it's important, and in the greater community, in the kind of the nationwide community of what the people who are seriously into mead are looking at, that kind of
People
stuff.
in the know, right?
Yeah.
So your tasting room has a Viking inspired vibe, right?
Yes, sir.
So what kind of experience are you aiming to create when people walk in?
So like when you walk in, and it kind of takes, well, you kind of get transported back a little bit, and you're like, oh, it looks like a nice rustic interior. Like we have wood walls all the way around, but it also has, you know, our back behind the bar is all metal.
Yeah.
And so you're going from a rustic historical port to modern time at the same time. So like the inside, you know, we have furs and everything like that. We have helmets that we got in from Denmark and Norway, and some of the pelts came from Scandinavian countries. And so we try to incorporate the whole Nordic theme in modern times, basically.
Yeah. So you get to experience the vibe and the
Yeah.
drink and everything.
And we try to be a very chill space, so a low key space. We keep the volume low. You know, there's lots of places you can go and have loud music, and that's great for for those places. For us, it's somewhere quiet. Most of the time, it can get a little loud, where you can just sit back, relax. We've got people that come in during the week, during the day, and hook up to the Wi-Fi and work. But really, we just want you to feel essentially like you're coming into our home.
Yeah.
And it is. We live there, practically. You know, we're going to treat you like friends, like family. Like, if the bathroom's dirty, I'm going to give you a bucket and tell you to go clean. Just, we want you to be welcome, and we want you to be comfortable. We enjoy conversation. So I typically am up there talking all of our employees. I make sure people can carry good conversation. We have board games, table games. We want to be relaxed.
You can't really do that with the music blaring, you know, in a loud atmosphere. So, you know, sit back, have some mead, have a conversation, play some games, kind of hang out.
Yeah, we've had some people that come in, they're like, it's like a little quiet speakeasy back here. You know, our tap room isn't very big. I think at most we can sit as 30 to 35 people.
Yeah.
Depending on how many employees we have working that day, obviously. Because our capacity, I think, is at 36. And so usually we have two employees up there. So, you know, 30 to 35 people we can have up in the bar. But like I said, it's just a quaint little area. People, you know, several times like, oh, it's like a little speakeasy. It's quiet, you know, gives us somewhere to go and kind of, we just want a relaxing vibe, basically.
Right. So can you sell the mead to go?
Yes, we do have bottles and cans to go. We also do have like little mini kegs, like half gallon and gallon kegs. So, you know,
Party ball.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like, and we're big lake people. We're big, you know, pool water people as well. And so most of the stuff we try to do is either in cans. Obviously our higher ABV stuff going into bottles or, you know, especially if it's not carbonated. Everything that we do carbonate will go into cans, especially because we want it to be accessible. Hey, we're going to the lake, going on the boat, hanging by the pool.
Going to the
There you go.
river.
Going floating the river.
Yeah. So, is some of the flavors are carbonated and some aren't, or that it's all carbonated, or
Yeah, if it's under 7%, I typically carbonate them. There's two that we have that are 13%, which is Roos, which is the Moscow Mule flavored
Yeah.
mead, and then
Thank you.
Igear, which is our mojito style mead. Those are carbonated, so we put those in the cans. Both of those are 13%, so we put them in a nice black can, matte black label, kind of make them stand out.
Yeah.
Because they're they're a little bit pricier.
so? What's the reasoning why some of it is carbonated and some of it's not? And this is just me asking because I just don't know.
Like especially with you can get full body meads under 7%, 6%, 4%. But to kind of push the flavor, to kind of give it a little bit more body, something that is like, I won't say a lot cleaner because it's just more crisper and refreshing to drink something carbonated, especially like today.
Oh, yeah.
We're 90 something degrees today. Walk outside with nice cold mead, carbonated after mowing the lawn. Feels
So
fantastic.
it's more of like a preference,
Yeah.
right? Okay. It's not absolutely. It's not
No, no.
necessary. Okay, that makes sense. So, do you guys host any community events or live music? Or, I mean, you say it's quiet, but are there any plans to do that?
We're getting into more events and things, and we partner with the Wylie Urban Farm Market. Usually, they will host music. We don't have room inside our space for it, but the farmers market will do a night at the market usually, and we'll have music out, vendors out. You can walk the property, come in and have a drink. We've hosted we had a Viking night where we did have everybody dressed up, come out.
That was fun.
Yeah, that was fun.
That sounds fun.
We had an axe throwing trailer out a couple weeks ago. That was fun. Brought a lot of people out to come and throw axes and have some mead. We're working on with a local game company to come and host game nights, come and bring in new board games, new card games, that sort of thing. We're really trying to, we're getting feedback from our customers who come in and
yeah.
what they want to see.
Regulars, what the guy.
And we are family friendly. We welcome children. We have a spot in the back, in the corner, where they can go hang out.
Do you make non-alcoholic drinks for them?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we have, especially right now for the summer, we have non-alcoholic slushies, as well as, and so we take our pina colada mead and turn that into a slushie as well.
Yeah.
So, but we also have non-alcoholic option, and we also do have sodas, water, juices especially for the smaller kids.
And we're working on a honey soda, a non-alcoholic option that you can still kind of participate in the craft beverage experience, but maybe not have an alcoholic drink.
Yeah, that's what my next question is. Can you make the mead non-alcoholic?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess you can, right?
Yeah, not necessarily. It wouldn't be a
It
mead.
wouldn't be
There
a
would be
mead.
no fermentation
Right.
involved, but having a honey flavored soda. And then we're also working on packaging up some of the honeys that we have that you could purchase and take home. Just because a lot of what we use is not available in the stores. You're not going to go buy Jungle Blossom honey
Right.
at Walmart or anything. So
So along with the mead, did you mention earlier that you could actually taste the different honeys?
yes,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
We
that's
keep
cool.
them at the bar, and we'll bring them out if you're interested. We like to do little honey flights, and so pull out all the honeys and talk about them and sample them.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it goes everything from, they call it water white or kind of white, clear in color, to molasses looking. And the flavors vary drastically between them.
Yeah.
So-
Imagine so.
It's very interesting. And a lot of people don't realize that there are so many honeys, and honeys all have different flavor profiles. There are some that they kind of overlap, they kind of taste the same, but the ones that we use, you will know that each one tastes different.
Yeah. And I can give you a honey and not tell you it's a honey. You probably wouldn't even be able to guess that it was a honey.
Really. All right, we're gonna need to do a field trip, DJ.
Oh,
Field trip.
no.
All right. So let's talk about as a veteran-owned business. What advice would you give to other vets looking to start their own ventures?
And see that's hard because like for us, like we're fully self-funded.
Yeah,
And so we didn't take a loan. We don't have any investors. All the money we put into it is literally what her and I had.
right.
And so, but I do know that there are options out there for veterans. The Veterans Association can help get small business loans that are specifically for veterans. And well, I haven't looked into it as much because, like I said, we can walk away today from the meadery and not look back, and all of our bills are still taken care of.
Right.
So we're literally doing this just because one, we're still we're both under 40, and we got to stay active somehow.
Right.
And I love mead, and we both want to try to give back to the community as much as we can. So that's why we're I won't say doing this, but
It's just you've got the opportunity to live out a passion,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And do what you really have a passion for, and then share that with the community, which I think is great.
yeah. And so a lot of that we haven't had to get tied up with small business loans or whatever, but I do know that there are options out there for veterans looking to start businesses through the SBA that are like basically, oh, hey, I'm a veteran, and they will pretty much
Yeah,
come out to you.
that's awesome. So here's a fun question: if you could share a drink with any historical figure, real or mythological, who would it be, and what mead would you serve them?
That's all you.
This is a good one, right?
Ooh,
This was not in the prep.
no.
I'm throwing curveballs, man. Keep you on your toes.
Oh man. If I that's ooh man, you're gonna next Pat. You go first.
Talk to me. I don't know.
All right, we'll come back to it. All right. So what's next for the Texas Longhouse? Any exciting plans, expansions, or new flavors coming soon? Some secret thing you've been working on?
Well, people that have been into the tap room, they know, but not everybody does. And I kind of mentioned it earlier. We got a fresh dump whiskey barrel from Herman Marshall. They emptied it on Wednesday. I picked it up on a Thursday.
Yeah.
Our mead was in it Friday.
Okay. Got a little collab going.
Yeah. So we're making our old fashioned style mead
Out of that barrel.
out of that barrel with the mead that's in that barrel. And so it's moving along greatly. It's got a nice little whiskey note. You can definitely, the oak's starting to come through. So once that's ready, I'm going to take it out. We're going to add our spices to it to kind of give it that bitters, because we can't use bitters to make a packaged drink basically. And so we're trying to make it to where it's ready to go. You open it, pour a glass, drink it, you got an old fashioned mead. And so we're adding the spices and everything we need to. Once it comes out of the barrel, throw a little bit of cherry juice in there to kind of tie up the old fashioned. We'll get it bottled and out. And then the other one is our smoked pineapple chipotle that's aging in a rum barrel right now.
Really? Sounds like a little Caribbean kind of theme.
Oh, yeah. And it was fantastic when it went into the barrel.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that.
So when are those going to be ready?
Those will be out shooting for
By
knock on wood.
October.
Yeah, shooting for October.
So when you so how long does it take? I mean, I'm kind of backtracking now. So how long does it take? And you may have already answered that, to ferment the mead to where you can put put the honey and the water and the yeast in there, or whatever goes in there, and then it starts fermenting. So how long does it take to have before you can actually drink it?
It depends on the flavor profile and the ABV and what yeast I'm using.
Okay.
Like if I use a Viking yeast, which is mainly used by beer brewings, farmhouse ales, and so on, it's a Scandinavian yeast. I can have it from time it starts fermenting till the time I put it out, probably about 4 weeks.
Okay.
And that's like staying on top of it, taking care of it, getting it moving at every step. But on average, I use traditional wine yeast, and so we're looking at about 6 weeks at the earliest. average is about 3 months. Some of them take 6 months, and then there's actually one that will be starting at the end of this year that takes 2 years.
Wow.
So, and people, I've won several awards with that mead as an amateur. And so taking it commercial, and some of our regulars that come in, I've given them a bottle. It's a Polish style mead called a Dworzniak.
Yeah.
And while we don't have to follow Polish regulation here, I try to stick true to style. So if I'm going to, especially within the mead community, I'm like, if I tell you, hey, this is a Polish mead, they're expecting it to be handled a certain way to be able
Right.
to say it's a Polish mead.
Right.
And so it's a 2-year process to make that.
Really?
It comes out like a sherry
That's interesting.
or like a port.
That's a long commitment there.
Oh, yeah.
2 years. Yeah. So do you, when you put them in the barrels to start, getting the old fashioned one, when you put it in the Herman Marshall barrel, is it already fully fermented mead that goes
yeah.
in the barrel, and then you age it in the barrel for how long?
Until the barrel says, hey, it's good.
So you just go taste it till you say, okay, it's ready.
Yeah. And usually, like going into a barrel, I won't touch it. I won't taste it or anything like that until about 2-3 months in, just to make sure the progress is going along. Because the first month, you're really not going to notice much of a difference, especially on that scale. Now, on a homebrew scale, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, you're pretty much maxed out. But on our commercial scale, 3 months is probably the earliest I'll even start tasting it. And so we just tasted it a week, 2 weeks ago. And like I said, it's on track. And so just making sure it stays on track so that way we're not going over on the flavor profile that requires more work to balance out. So
So do you make all the mead over there on site?
yes, sir.
Okay.
Everything's made there. So we have one restroom that's inside the building. The other two that are outside are communal for the other buildings.
Yeah.
So if you go to the restroom on the inside of our building, you can literally see our entire production.
Oh, wow. So people can kind of like see what's going on.
Yeah.
Keep it open. Everything it goes from the honey to the bottle to the tap to everything. We can ourselves. We bottle ourselves. We have 2 employees and one of our children who work with us, and that's it. So it's just
Yeah.
Family run, operated.
Pretty much.
Awesome. That's a good deal. So I'm running out of questions. Is there anything that you would like the audience to know about your business or about mead in general that maybe that I didn't know to ask about?
So mead, by nature, is gluten free.
Oh, wow.
So, then right now that's kind of been the biggest push for us is we've been having, especially as the meat industry, especially with modern times, modern medicine, a lot more people are starting to realize gluten intolerance and certain diseases, whatever they can't have. We've had several people like, man, I used to drink beer all the time, and now I got diagnosed with celiac or whatever and can't drink beer anymore. Mead's now an option.
Yeah. My dad got allergic to beer just all of a sudden out of nowhere, and was having airway would close up and stuff like that and get all blotchy, and so he had to quit drinking. But it was lasted for like 4 years. But we were trying to figure out what was causing it, but never could.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's interesting.
yeah. And
then the other good thing is, and we've had plenty of our customers, plenty of people who drink mead can attest to it. Mead, because mead's made with honey, so it's a simple sugar. So it's still an alcoholic sugar, so your body still has to go through the whole process, but your body's able to process it easier. And in the 10 years I've been making mead, I've only had one person that told me they had a hangover from drinking mead. Other than that, everyone else I've talked to is like, they'll be completely drunk on mead at home and wake up the next morning and expecting to be hungover, and they're not.
Those wine hangovers are pretty rough too.
they are.
Yeah. Well, a lot of that has to do with like the tannin. People think that it's a sulfite issue that gives you the headaches or whatever. It's actually a tannin issue, because white wines actually take more metabolic sulfite to preserve that wine than red wines do, because red wines, especially when they're aged in oak, are naturally antioxidant, kind of not antioxidant, antioxidative. So we don't have to add as much metabisulfite in reds as we do the whites. And so it's actually the tannins that's in the wine that gives you the hangover.
Oh, okay. Yeah, very interesting, dude. That whole
I will go off the deep end. I'm that
it's
weird
bad.
guy. I was reading research papers on wine yeast fermentation and how caramelizing honey or caramelizing sugar affects the fermentation. I read that.
Taking over our kitchen and
the mad
house.
scientist. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm. It's like I said, it's a hobby that I really took off and I'm really passionate about. So like I would literally read research papers on fermentations.
That's good. Well, they say if you do something that you love, you never work a day in your life, right?
Yeah.
Is that what they say? Is it true?
I work 8 days a
Maybe
week.
eventually.
Maybe eventually. Well,
And we do offer custom product. So if you're local, you have honey or your own produce and wanted to make it into your own mead, we can do that, even on a small scale.
really?
Yeah. We've got a couple going now. We're doing one for a wedding, and then we're actually doing one for a lady in Honduras with honey from Honduras.
Wow. So how can people get a hold of you to work out some kind of deal like that off of your website or socials?
They can go to our website, social media, emails, info@texaslonghousemead.com. Social media is Texas Longhouse Mead, both on Instagram, Facebook.
Or just pop in.
Yeah, just come on in.
One of us is almost always in there at all times, or whoever's there knows how to get a hold of us. But,
Awesome.
But we're in there, and we're hoping by August also to start doing classes, mead maker classes, start teaching you how to do this at home and just spread the knowledge.
Absolutely. That's very cool. Yeah. Anything else? I want to make sure we get it all.
I drink with George Washington.
Okay. Go back to the question. George Washington. Which mead would you serve him?
It'd be a cherry.
It'd have to be a cherry because,
Be a Dvořák.
yeah, I'd probably do that Dvořák one. Just because, like, I know he was really big into fermenting stuff as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a good choice. All right. Well, hey, I appreciate you guys being on the show. I learned a lot, and I'm sure our listeners did as well. And I'm going to schedule a field trip over there and check everything out.
Yeah, we're open Wednesday through Sunday.
That's good. Let's talk about your hours. What are your hours?
2 to 8 during the week, 12 to 9 on the weekend.
Wednesday through Saturday?
Wednesday through Sunday.
Through Sunday. Okay. Yep. All right. Sounds good. All right. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you for tuning into the Live, Love, Wylie podcast. If you're watching one of these clips on our social media, we'd love to have you over on YouTube to watch the full episode. Like and subscribe there. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.